Here's the truth. If you lose control of your emotions too often, you can lose more than just your temper or your poise. You can lose people's trust. Friends start to avoid you, partners pull away, even your career can take a hit. In the next few minutes, I'll give you a practical method that you can use to take charge of your emotions before they take charge of you. So you can keep your relationships, your opportunities, and your self-respect intact. If you've ever wondered how to stay in control of your emotions, even when the pressure's on, this will show you how. You're about to see exactly how this works. First, we'll talk about which emotions you can actually get control of, including some you might think are just too big or too automatic to change. Then, I'll walk you through what's really happening in your brain and your body when emotions hit, and the simple shift that lets you interrupt that process before it takes over. And finally, I'll give you a way to start using the skill immediately, even in the heat of the moment, so you can walk away from tough situations with your self-respect and your relationships intact. So picture this. You're in a theater, watching a scene play out. The actors are in the heat of an argument. Emotions are flying everywhere, but you're up there on the balcony. You can see the whole stage, the body language, the timing, even what's coming next. You're not in the middle of the chaos. You're watching from above. And that's what we're going to train your brain to do with your own emotions. Because once you can see yourself from that balcony, you get to decide. Do I want to let this play keep running, or is it time to change the scene? When emotions hit, it feels like they take over instantly. Your voice gets sharper, your stomach knots up, your hands start to shake, and before you know it, you've said or done something that you regret. That's because your brain's emotional center can fire faster than the thinking brain can catch up. The first thing we're going to do is to notice, not judge, not fix, just notice that an emotional response is happening. Ask yourself, where is this showing up in my body? Is it weighing down in my chest, a tight jaw, a lump in my throat? If you had to give it a number from 1 to 10, how strong is it right now? Now you're not in the heat of the moment anymore. You're up on the balcony, calmly looking down and saying, oh, interesting. She's feeling a rush of anger right now. It seems to be centered around the throat, about an 8 out of 10. And that tiny shift changes everything. Once you can do this, you've got enough distance to decide. Do I want to keep this emotion going, or do I want to steer it somewhere else? We're not trying to have no emotions. Emotions are important. They give you information, and sometimes they can feel great. The goal is to stop them from running the show. So you can choose how you want to respond. Once you've noticed the emotion, picture yourself taking 1 or 2 mental steps back up onto that balcony. From there, watch yourself as if you were watching a character in a story. You can even narrate. He's feeling frustrated, or she's shutting down. From this distance, you've got 2 choices. First, gentle steering. You could change your breathing, your posture, or your gaze to dial it down. Second, and I like this one, deliberate indulgence. Choose to fully feel it for, say, 5 minutes, and then move on. I'm going to let him feel so miserable and so sorry for himself for the next 5 minutes. Go. I had a client who used this in a very tense meeting, and she noticed the heat rising, and she stepped onto the balcony, took 1 deep, slow breath, relaxed her shoulders, and by the time it was ready for her to speak, the edge had gone off. She avoided an outburst, and she earned more respect in the process. But in the heat of the moment, your brain will default to what it knows. Practice is what makes the balcony your default. Your brain strengthens pathways you use repeatedly, just like learning a sport or a skill. So here's how to practice. First, daily low-stakes practice in everyday situations, like standing in line. Second, replay past events mentally and redo them from the balcony perspective. And third, add a physical cue. Maybe it's a small gesture, maybe some kind of weird thing you do as a reminder to shift perspective. Maybe not so noticeable so people can't tell you're doing it. And the more you can practice in calm moments, the more it will happen automatically when it counts. And once you've noticed the emotion and stepped onto the balcony, the next challenge is to actually calm it down so you can respond in the way you want. And one of the fastest, most reliable ways to do that is through simple breathing technique you can use anywhere, even in the middle of a conversation. I walk you through it in my video called A Simple Breathing Exercise to Quickly Calm Anxiety. It's quick to learn, and the more you use it, the more control you'll have in the moment. You can watch it right here.